You may be able to see that in the hand drafting here, the designer has used a grid, a faint blue grid, and then drawn on top of that grid. Using a grid is a very good technique in any drafting, whether it's be hand drafting or electronic drafting. And you'll be pleased to know that your CAD software has got an electronic grid. Let's measure the major and minor grid points here. Our major grid runs from that point there across to there, so it's 4.964, so it's very close to a 1 to 5 foot grid. And the minor points run from there to there, so it's about a half a foot, slightly more. But we can set whatever grid we want, so we can scroll down a little, right click on the drawing area, go to drafting aids, and you can set your grid. So if you measured at 4.9, there's nothing stopping you having a 4.9 grid, probably 5, but I'm just trying to illustrate the point. And 4.9 as the major grid point, sorry, it's actually the minor grid point, and you'll see in a moment when we go OK and press F7 turns the grid on, and now you can see there is the grid. We've got a major grid point 10 times that value, and the minor grid points here match the 4.9 or nearly 5 meter grid. So we now have a grid laying on top of the drawing that we can use as a guide. We can make our drawing snap to those grid points if we like. So it's just an illustration. You can have a grid. The grid doesn't have to be the dashed lines as you see there. We can go to drafting aids and change back to points, and now it's far less obvious, but the points are there and we can snap to them.